We're live.
Yeah, what's up, everyone? It's the 13th of November, 14th of November to some of you guys. Welcome to Rune Sunday stream. And today we'll be talking about Evolution Season 4, when it will start, things about FTX, Congrats to Disco, for mentioning it last week, for being the Nostradamus, and then other crypto news. Um, Regarding crypto.com, and of course some market updates regarding BTC and ETH. And we'd also talk about some progress with our partnership with Flame. We'll also do the normal rune giveaways at the end of the stream. Not much for this week, but yeah.
What do you mean? Not much. There's been a lot. A lot has happened in the past week, Maiev. It's been a crazy
I
week. What
mean,
do you mean?
regarding rune, not much with rune for this week.
Maybe not
But
directly
yeah.
related to Rune, but everything in the crypto space is, of course, always adjacently, important as well. Big thanks to Discomonk for calling out FTX, giving us the news
Nostra.
last week. If any of you here had funds on FTX, hopefully you did withdraw it, and you guys do owe a big thank you to Disco for keeping up with the news and everything. He did let you guys know ahead of time if you know somebody that maybe did not get their funds out in time. Well, moment of silence for them.
Yeah, and don't mix Mountain Dew with chocolate milk.
Yes, definitely do not mix Mountain Dew with hot chocolate. I don't know my.
If you needed to hear that, I doubt you did, but
I'm not sure anyone was planning to, but thanks for the advice.
That has to be the worst possible drink combination I can think of. Like, I can't think of anything worse than a hot chocolate mixed with like a cold Mountain Dew. Like, you just a lukewarm
Even
like
if the Mountain Dew
mountain
was
chocolate.
warm, I don't think it would be nice.
You're right. That'd probably be even worse, honestly. But yeah, again, moment of silence to those of you that potentially could have lost funds on FTX. It sucks. Hopefully it's a learning experience. And make sure you guys tune into Rune Sunday stream so Disco can warn you about the next time. Okay, anyways, so we'll cover FTX, we'll cover all of that in a little bit, but first of all, we do need to cover Evolution Season 4. Unlike the previous seasons, we are going to be starting that a little bit later. Evolution Season 4 is going to be officially underway Tuesday, the 15th of November. So basically in 2 days from now, that'll be the beginning of Season 4. And I believe it's going to run until the end of the year, so the end of December. Rune Royale is unaffected. Rune Royale will stay on the same schedule. It will be at the end of November, along with another Rune Royale at the end of December. So Rune Royale, same schedule. The Evolution Season 4, that is going to change a little bit. That probably doesn't mean that we're going to have to either name the Rune Royale of November. Maybe we name it like 4.5 or 3.5. We might just have to name it like a 0.5 just because it's not going to match up, but that's fine. We'll figure that out. It's not a big deal. And of course, Evolution 2.0, Maiev, I'll let you take it from there. What are the updates regarding Evolution 2.0? Hello, Maiev? I think your mic is muted.
Yeah, I'm currently. Am I supposed to talk about it now?
Oh yeah, we just need like a brief overview of what we've been doing with Evolution 2.0, and then
browse to. Yeah, so it's still a work in progress. Andre, one of our developers, is still working on the server and the client side of Rune Evolution 2.0. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to view this, but there would be a lot of visual changes, like a dark background on Rune Evolution 2.0. Yeah, we've encountered some bugs, but still being worked on, and hopefully that we'd be able to set it out for you guys to test it.
Nice dark mode. That sounds cool. I've definitely.
Yep.
My eyes will probably appreciate having more dark modes. Okay, yeah. So I guess that's mainly the updates that we have regarding Rune directly, but of course, FTX. Those of you that have kept up with the FTX saga the past week, it's been crazy. I believe as of now, FTX is officially bankrupt. It's officially basically dead. I think there's still like maybe the slight possibility that it does get acquired, or maybe some of their assets can be sold off and maybe they can still exist, question mark. I think Disco, you're probably a lot more knowledgeable about that than I am, but it does seem like FTX is not doing great. Any chances of survival are slim, if at all.
The withdrawals were paused, right? I saw some of my friends saying that they've already paused the withdrawals for FTX.
Yeah. So actually, before we start, this might sound kind of silly, but I do want to question, what does a withdrawal mean? If you're sending, let's say you're sending Bitcoin from your FTX wallet to a different wallet, does that count as a withdrawal or does that count as a transfer?
But be a withdrawal.
That would be a withdrawal.
I guess the terms are interchangeable. Yeah, because you're trying to withdraw your crypto from that exchange.
Yeah.
I guess people, would say withdraw to fiat if they're trying to cash out that way.
Yeah, so I think I had a little bit of confusion at the beginning because I was under the assumption that withdrawal means you're basically like selling your crypto and withdrawing like USD, right? That's what my assumption was. But I think that the way that people are talking about withdrawals, it means that they don't have any crypto, so they can't send you the crypto that you were supposed to have, right?
Yeah, that's basically what happened. They're using fractional reserves, or were using fractional reserves, so they didn't actually have all the things or all the crypto that they said they did, and they were using people's crypto that they had deposited to the exchange for loans and speculation and things like that. And it's just a house of cards that kind of fell in on itself, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, Disco, I think I'll leave it to you to talk a little bit more about the whole entire situation, and then I'll try to fill in as well. I've been trying to keep up with the situation pretty, I don't know what the word is, but I've been trying to keep up with Twitter. Basically, I've been browsing Twitter almost every single day, spending hours on it, just reading about everything that's been going on. But I'll leave it to the expert for now.
Yeah, so I guess disclaimers first. I'm no legal expert or financial expert or anything like that. I just read a lot of Twitter to try and keep up with this. This is my understanding of events. I believe it to be as accurate as I state it to be. But that's only based on limited information being available, of course, about the whole scenario. So what we spoke about last week on the Sunday stream here was around the possibility essentially of FTX using a flywheel scheme very similar to Celsius, whereby they would they generated the FTT token, would use that as collateral against loans, borrow money, inflate the price of FTT by buying more of it off the market, therefore increasing the value of the rest of the supply in terms of the overall market cap, which then meant that they had more and more collateral to borrow against. In addition to that, it also now transpires that FTX and Alameda were essentially interchangeable, like controlled by a very small group of people. What they would do is that very process, but also then take customer funds and deposits and move them across to Alameda and use those to again increase the position of their collateral and execute more trades. So throughout this time, their value has greatly been inflated. There is also potential evidence that they were spoofing markets through Alameda research. There's, I think their cancellation rate on orders was over 98% through the period of time where Bitcoin had that second pump going down from kind of 28,000 up to that all-time high of 69,000, and then of course crashing down as they're selling away. But the majority of those orders turned out, or certainly looked like they were spoofed across exchanges. So again, they were trading against users, trading against the entire market, borrowing from lending houses in order to then borrow more and show greater value, with potentially then also as a result of this actually inflating the books and showing or displaying a kind of asset balance sheet of about $10 billion or so. In actuality, there were probably like assets worth around 10% of that. Is what the indications are so far. That, of course, is then further devalued in the last few days. And so essentially the inflation of cost and use people's money to gamble, to borrow more money to gamble, all came kind of crashing down as a result of potentially the UST Luna saga. There are suggestions that kind of they were essentially trading against UST and kind of supported that crash, hoping to kind of short it, potentially not realizing the implications of what that would do across the entire market, and then losing or possibly realizing the implications of the market, but certainly not being able to get enough liquid interest to buy all of their short sales, therefore generated losses that then caused this kind of house of cards to collapse. Now, where did all the money go? Because at some point there certainly were lots of money, and it should be noted now that actually from FTX it's not possible to withdraw any funds. In fact, if you do have any of their apps, it is advisable to delete them, because they have potentially malware within them, so could try and hack data on your phone. Likewise, if you did have any recurring payments set up to them, because some people would have done that on their cards, if you dollar cost average in DCA and $5, $10, $50 a month, whatever it is on your cards, then do try and speak to your bank and revoke that approval, as there were some reports of potentially attempts of funds being trying to collect that. I think the banks certainly Played in America has now stepped in, but this of course could be happening internationally as well, so do just be aware of that. So it also transpired, and there's reports coming from employees that Sam Bankman-Fried essentially had a backdoor in the code that allowed them to move around and inflate the value of user deposits without getting caught by auditors or triggering any of the kind of compliance alarms that were in place. So again, how much of this money was actually real whenever in the system is unknown at this stage. How much of it, certainly some was created, how much of it, was created and then actually some of it siphoned away during all of this, that's yet to be seen. The FTX websites or accounts, users who were logging into them actually had their balances wiped and zeroed out. Shortly following that, there were numerous movements of crypto and tokens out of that exchange into various users' wallets. Large amounts disappearing, reports of people trying to buy Bahamian KYC'd accounts, on the basis that the FTX announcement had said this money being withdrawn from the exchanges was because, according to Bahamian law, they had to release those deposits, or it was their money. What in hindsight, whether or not that's the case, who knows? Certainly, there was a well-known trader, Algod Trading on Twitter, who having previously been accused of actually several pump and dump scams on BSC, had managed to obtain KYC on their account, which had been pending for a while during these troubles, were reportedly offering to buy users' accounts for 10 cents on the dollar, because people were, I guess, kind of getting desperate. There's a whole heap of things that have potentially come out of this, and bad actors individually taking advantage of the situation. The ultimate outcome is that around about $400 million worth of tokens have been moved out of the exchange. I think it's estimated about 650 million has moved out of the exchange. It's estimated about 250 million has been retained by white hat hackers, who, when they started seeing the funds move, some of those they have potentially managed to salvage some. Another 450 million, or potentially slightly less, has now gone out of the system too. In addition to this, there was, prior to heavy selling of tokens, offloading some of these and converting preventable or freezable assets such as USDT or USDC, moving those into DAI, moving those from stake to ETH, taking big slippage losses in order to just get everything liquid. I think potentially money being moved on BSC through Tornado Cash. I'd need to come back and verify that one. Certainly funds being sent out to various places. There were notes within the transactions, one saying rug pull all, which was then followed by heavy selling. So yeah, there's a lot of information potentially coming out in terms of selling. It seems to be some transactional information directly into the blockchain in terms of using the hash. Seems to be quite prevalent within these, and there seems to be historical cases. Some of this may have been involved in some of the market manipulation back in late last year. So quite interesting. It's still a developing story in terms of the location of Sam Bankman-Fried. He is believed to currently be in the Bahamas. He had been paying off a lot of locals, police force and politician over time while living over there. Recently delivering the entire police force some $100 tablets. And then in addition to that, is only just by the Bahamian police being investigated for potential financial crimes. Hasn't actually been arrested, but is under strict watch or something, I think, similar in terms of the term they used, essentially under house arrest, and they're just kind of keeping an eye on him. But still has access to a laptop, was seen playing League of Legends again, and which seems to be a frequent hobby of his, something he did during meetings while closing billion-dollar funding rounds. In addition to every meeting he was doing, he'd always be kind of playing a game. I read quite an interesting article which subsequently got deleted because essentially a reporter spent a week with him, marveled at his genius and this empire that he'd built, and then a few days after it got published, the article was pulled due to recent events. Interestingly enough, this article was actually posted on Sequoia Capital, which was a investment fund that had invested $250 million into FTX. Turns out Sam Bankman-Fried had actually invested $500 million into them subsequently as well. So those stocks and stuff potentially, the understanding is, wouldn't become part of all of this Chapter 11 bankruptcy that FTX have applied for. That affects about 130 subsidiary companies of theirs. Directly, there are, I think it was 488 companies that they had invested in through Alameda Research or as FTX directly. So the ramifications across the industry, certainly in terms of funding, that's going to dry up very immediately, I think, for a lot of people. So it'd be interesting to see how that kind of plays out in terms of longevity of some of these businesses. And then on the back of all of this, there was a huge amount of political donations towards the Democratic Party candidates, usually through PACs, which are kind of action groups. So again, rather than supposedly charities, but usually a lot of very rich people sitting around in a room talking about how they're going to do something. And a lot of the money seems to just get swallowed up in that part quite commonly. Not saying that's happened there, but potentially there might be some investigations into this, because in addition to funding some of these initiatives and political movements, it also transpired that the relationship between Sam Bankman-Fried and some individuals within the SEC and also the CTFC, you'll have to correct me, Panda, because it's your country's organization, not mine. So apologies if I've got the acronym wrong. But essentially, one is for securities and the other is more kind of stock clearances and trading for exchanges and clearinghouses. I think commodities trading, sorry, that's the one. So what has then happened is in the past, Sam Bankman-Fried supposedly has a background in high frequency trading at Jane Street. So these are Wall Street players coming into the crypto market. And of course, at this point, I guess it's quite prominent to say, as they do say, not your keys, not your coins. This will potentially see a drive for further regulation and calls for further regulation from various governments and individuals. My personal stance is to try and certainly counter that message, because this has not happened because of crypto in terms of the technology or DeFi. It's happened precisely because this wasn't crypto and it wasn't DeFi. It was yet again someone, well, I suppose this time not wearing a suit, pretending to be a vegan. There were some pictures of him with eggs in his fridge. So who knows about that part? But certainly, a wolf in sheep's clothing, pretending to be good for the industry. I think with the release of his proposed crypto bill, we can probably see that maybe it wasn't quite true. And that, of course, it was potentially the catalyst that set all of this into motion. Who knows? But yeah, so the failure is, again, we trusted people, whereas the code and the visibility of that on an immutable blockchain is ultimately why Bitcoin was created in the first place, and why we're all here to some extent. So it is just worth bearing that in mind. And if you do see any political movements, then my personal advice would be to try and just oppose that, because I do fear that it's going to be an opportunity to try and kill an industry, or certainly control it and muzzle it. And we know that banks, central banks are looking at CDBCs and CBDCs, and they are potentially do have the ability to restrain people's financial freedom. So just something to be cautious of. Aside from that, the political donations. So Sam Bankman-Fried used to also go to MIT University, and one of his parents worked there, and the other worked at Stanford as professors. Caroline Ellison, who was the CEO, or is now the CEO of Alameda Research, was promoted after the previous one left. Not quite sure why that would have been. And they grew up together, or she went to this other university where his parents teach, and her parents subsequently teach at that university and Sam Bankman-Fried's university. In addition to that, some members of currently the CFTC do used to work with some of the parents. That it almost sounds like a soap opera, and I'm not going to try and be really precise because I don't have all the information quite in front of me. I maybe should have come prepared with that, but essentially used to work with his parents, and Gary Gensler was also an understudy for them and was one of their parents' bosses. So there is a kind of connection to those regulating bodies that possibly warrant some form of investigation to understand. Now, nobody's saying or implying here, of course, for legal reasons, that there was any sort of conspiracy in terms of, a coalition between the SEC, or knowing intent between those government agencies and FTX, Alameda, and that gang. However, the close relationships are certainly worth asking questions about, and yes, it will certainly be one that I'll be following with intent. Now, this, of course, had actually been preceded by a Republican senator a few days before that news came to light, mentioned that actually Gary, people had been running to his office to report that Gary Gensler had been trying to create, along with the legal framework, essentially a get out of jail free card for FTX, on the basis that in the absence of regulation for their specific things, the regulation will come into effect, and therefore they should be in trouble, or but essentially would get away with it. So there was intent for this. I forget the legal term again because this is American legal terms, not my forte. So there is again some further questions to be asked about that, and whether or not there was a knowing intent, that what this was enabling, and the size of the scam, or the fact that there was a scam at all seemingly going on at FTX. Those are the kind of facts to as far as I'm aware of them so far. And it's probably worth mentioning the government meetings, I think, were confirmed with notes with from the SEC chairs and CFTC's chairs meeting with IETX, as well as Sam Bankman-Fried and Alameda and FTX. So yeah, certainly some strong relationships there, it would appear. Aside from all of that, we probably should note that due to all of this, and again, the selling, this is an ongoing scenario right as we speak. I'm a few hours out of date, so I'm not quite sure what's happening right this moment. I know that there are other firms being rumoured to be potentially insolvent as well. Again, the advice personally, and again, not financial advice, do as you will, but my advice would be to get your money off all centralized exchanges, put them in at least hot wallet, cold wallet if you've got one, but at least something like a MetaMask or a Trust wallet or something like that. If you're going to do it on computers, better to kind of generate the seed offline if you're able to and you're technical enough. There are some guides available. Just be cautious of any links you may click there. You don't then want to go and lose it all in that perspective, but certainly it might be worth considering self-position. Now, one thing that this event has inspired is for exchanges to come out with proof of reserves. That's been a long time coming. They seem to be very forthcoming for some reason, all of a sudden. That's one step towards transparency. Certainly, it's not ideal because it does not indicate the size of their actual hold in their balance sheet, if there potentially is one, because we don't know their liabilities. There are technical methods that can do this using kind of Merkle tree approaches, whereby it's possible to attest their user balances, at least to some extent, in that every user could go and then check their balances, and if it was correct, we could assume that they can be trusted as an exchange. That's not possible at the moment. So the better test, and I guess what was a catalyst to this whole event, but in a way very good to kind of flush out all this bad behavior, would be to withdraw your crypto to a wallet that you control, and actually do stress test some of these exchanges, because if there is any sort of messing around with user deposits and the ability to honor those withdrawals, not only would you be first in line, hopefully, to get your money out and actually retain that, but also then we would actually clear this space out of bad actors for once and for good. Because if they do survive now, then unfortunately I do think they're going to stick around. Now, again, on the proof of reserve sides, there is some indication, and people have been now looking back at historical and recent transactions between exchanges, large money movements. One of those being Crypto.com, who, according to their CEO, fat-fingered and accidentally sent 80% of their user deposits of Ethereum to Gate.io. This was allegedly possible because of it being a whitelisted address, because it was their deposit and account address at Gate, their corporate account. They didn't somehow differentiate that regular account that they use between the cold storage wallet that's supposed to keep everyone's funds safe, and then received about 80% of that back a week or so later, with what they have said is the remaining funds a few days after that, in smaller chunks, maybe just so that they didn't fat finger those transactions. Maybe do the smaller ones first as a test in the future. And my meme on that has actually got me the most likes or interactions on any social media post I've ever done. So that's quite an achievement for me.
Doing numbers, yeah.
I think it's up to maybe around 600 likes now, which is great.
Okay, Discomonk going famous.
So if anyone was at the quiz and caught the end where I said, do catch the quiz to get relevance from the meme, that is the meme. And so yeah, quite questionable there. It also happened to be around the time that Gate.io had their audits. Now they say that actually their audit started on the 19th, or the snapshot and information was taken on the 19th, I guess, and then published subsequently a week later, which is where the confusion came from, because this transaction I think happened on the 21st of October. Maybe the report was published around the 28th. That's of course not to say that they actually took the information on that day, or maybe the audit started, maybe the snapshot was later. I think probably some clarifications would be good there. But again, it just goes to show that when you're trusting these centralized entities and bearing in mind, when you do deposit into exchanges, you haven't got kind of your own personal wallet. You're trading with IOUs, with tokens. And as we've seen, what has happened now with the wrapped tokens on the Solana chain, they have completely depreciated in value. So Bitcoin is still, I don't know, struggling somewhere around 15, 16, 17K. Who knows? I haven't checked quite at the moment. But it's in that sort of range. And yet on Solana, these wrapped Bitcoins are now trading for, I think, around $2,000, maybe even less. People will be exiting as quickly as possible. And that is because those Bitcoin are no longer backed. And it turns out that actually looking through Alameda's assets, which was quite intriguing to see, although they had $1.4 billion liabilities in Bitcoin, they didn't seemingly have a single Bitcoin. So that is some achievement. I mean, where do we go from here? So look, again, crypto.com, they also have their own token, which like we saw with Celsius and others, had a big spike, dropped. So they reduced rewards on their cards. They did also do big marketing sponsoring budgets, similarly to FTX. Again, my advice: get everything off all your exchanges. As of Gate, that doesn't look great for them. Maybe it does because they return the funds. Who knows? There's certainly questions around them. Certainly questions around KuCoin, similar token offering model. Again, how many users are actually on that chain? I'm not sure, but it's just worth looking at. Now, of course, what I think one of the big questions everyone then has is, well, what about Binance? And Binance, were one of the first to come out with the proof of reserves in terms of the holdings they have. Now, again, there's no proof of liabilities. So you don't know if they are overcommitted or not. Is that sufficient to pay everyone out? It should be. They should theoretically have more money than that because they would have made profits. And we don't know what the user balances are supposed to be. However, similarly, I guess, looking at the sheer amount that they have in terms of their holdings, I think the value was around $70 billion or so, spread across BUSD and USDT. Some certainly interesting transactions and activity between Alameda and USDT issuers. And of course, they also provide just attestations, not audits, very different things. That's just basically saying that right here, right now, I've got this drink and you believe me. But that's not to say that I could tell you that I've always got this drink. I assure you, I won't always have that drink. That'll be gone very soon. So that an audit would be, right, I'm going to sit here and check that drink was there start to finish, and how did you know it was there? What are your controls in place to make sure it's never moved or touched, then it remained undrunk? Again, definitely not going to go through all of that. So you've had my attestation. That's as good as a crypto company can offer you, generally speaking. Nexo in particular have a live counter of their liabilities. Again, that's actually just an attestation from a firm who call Nexo's own API and say, do you have all these user deposits? What is the amount? And do you have enough deposits to cover that? Oh, you do? Oh, great, thank you. There's no verification that they actually hold any of that. And that's what's displayed on their website to make people think that they are safe. And unfortunately, BlockFi was another. They have now paused withdrawals and stopped that. There is an exchange, I think, in Hong Kong, a K something like that. They've actually taken their website down for 7 to 10 day urgent maintenance on their platform. That's never a good sign. Any exchange that has done that in the past typically has ended up offline forever and quite often absconding with user funds. So again, apathies for anyone out there impacted by that. It's going to be a wild ride, I think, continuing into God knows next week. I don't even know how today's going to end. So yeah, interesting to see how this plays out. I'll try and keep you all up to date as best I can. Certainly, if you've got some time, do go on Twitter. It's been quite a wild ride. As things are evolving, it's quite interesting to see it play out in real time. Analysis coming out, and yeah, if that's your thing, I'm quite enjoying that at the moment. Speaking of Twitter, they too have had a bit of a wild ride with what we discussed last week again. So again, calling it out around the blue check mark and the potential damage that might cause. But yeah, I don't know if any of you guys have got any thoughts on that one and want to clarify what's happened there.
Okay, actually, just to go back to FTX, I do want to ask you, in case you are aware or not, did you know whether or not in in FTX's terms and conditions or anything in their website, did they say that they were going to hold your assets, or did they say that they were going to lend it?
So they were promising that they don't use user assets right up until well, actually throughout the entire time, Sam Bankman-Fried has stated that they don't use user deposits and don't use it. He actually had a $12.5 billion loss on one exchange. I can't remember where that was, maybe BitMEX or something like that. Claimed or stated that, you know, that was being hedged else, or that was a hedge for another bet somewhere else, and it was a personal trading account. But it does make you wonder.
So he was lying. So basically, he said they're not using people's funds, they're not lending it out or anything, but they did, in fact, do that.
I mean, for all we know, they might have just taken all the deposits and then just made the money up. I mean, that actually looks quite possible with the fact that he had a backdoor and was able to move funds around. So who knows? Maybe, you know, everything that moved on chain was user deposits and everything else was just numbers on a screen. It's quite hard to pick apart at the moment how exactly they inflated all of this. Well, aside from, you know, counting all of these illiquid assets as incredibly large. So like we mentioned before, the FTT token, but also projects like Maps. And I think because they were so well connected and had friends in the banking world and liaised with banks, you know, they got support from JP Morgan, they got support from Morgan Stanley and others for various companies and partnerships. So, you know, they were clearly able to either fool everyone or bring everyone in. I think with that many people, it's probably more bringing them in, but and fooling them unintentionally. But yeah, who knows? It's been quite mad.
Okay, so this is all just speculation, but I do want to go around the table and see what you guys think. So basically, they're down like $8 billion. That money had to have went somewhere. Where do you guys think it went? I think you mentioned that they might have lost it with, you know, USDT or Luna or whatever, but it seems a little bit strange to me because Alameda, they were the market makers. If you're a market maker, you should be at least relatively close to delta neutral. Be kind of weird that they lost that much money. I'm kind of curious as to what you guys think.
I don't know if any of y'all have seen the clip of Caroline on a podcast or something like that
I saw
talking about
that,
their
yeah.
strategy for trading. Like, we don't even use things like stop losses. You know, our math is all high school level, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I shouldn't be too specific about how much I've lost or my biggest loss. You know,
That was
I
quite
wouldn't be surprised if
strange, but at the same time they were all like, you know, very
Yeah, I'm
established
sure,
traders,
high
right?
school, elementary level was an understatement, and they're trying to play off the fact that they are mathematical geniuses. Maybe for them it is relatively simplistic, but it kind of is when you actually just program the numbers to then control market prices and inflate them.
Yeah, so like that's the thing. If they were manipulating the prices on FTX, if they were front running people, how were they losing so much money? I think that's the strange part, right? Like, I'm not gonna say whether or not this has any truth to it because it's just a random post on Twitter, but I did see somebody said that there was an exploit to get an infinite balance on FTX. You know, if there was an exploit for you to be able to do that, that would make sense. Maybe there were people that were quote unquote stealing money, hackers that were able to find an exploit, and maybe that's where all of the money went. It would be kind of weird if that wasn't noticed. But
so that is the backdoor that Sam Bankman-Fried and the others had to the platform,
So
which allowed them to siphon that money away or inflate values. Yeah.
do you guys think that they've actually lost the money, or
So I
maybe
don't
they
think
have
some
already pocketed it?
So let's be clear here. They have, or he has made tens of millions of dollars in political donations. He's bought, millions, again, probably tens of millions of dollars worth of property in the Bahamas. He's invested into public companies like this Capital Fund Sequoia Capital, who invested into FTX prior to that. And through his parents and previous relationships would be familiar with the legal proceedings and tax efficiencies. In fact, his father kind of wrote or was part of the panel back in 2008 to prevent banks from this kind of reckless behavior, and was recommending tax changes to get some accountability for those. So quite interesting interviews around that. So yeah, they definitely, money has been funneled away. Now what that means in terms of recouping that for users, I guess if there is a legal case against him and there is an asset forfeiture, if they can find everything, that's going to take a long time to track down. There might eventually be some respite for users, and they might eventually see something that way. Of course, with all the political intertwinements, that's probably going to stall things significantly. There is still no active criminal case against him, as far as I'm aware. So yes, it's quite interesting to kind of see what's going on.
do you guys think he's like the Pablo Escobar of the digital world? He just took so much money out, he's just burying it on the beaches.
So funny you mentioned that. So throughout this week, every historical scammer involved in this year's saga has also reared their ugly heads as well. Su, who was part of 3AC, of course, collapsed in the Luna saga, has come out to start slating Sam. He's hadn't posted anything since kind of June, and popped up during all of this when Kobe wanted him on the chat. There was also a Twitch stream involving Martin Shrekley, the infamous farmer bro, as well as Do Kwon making an appearance and denying that he was on the run, not been on the stream for too long, and not subsequently coming back. But interesting to see all the big faces from earlier in the year. Carl Davis from I think 3S here as well. Again, popping up against Slate Sam, again blocking anyone who called out that, of course, they too, while potentially had been front run and market manipulated by Alameda to cause their losses, had also been using and playing around with user funds, which they explicitly said they didn't do. Yeah, lots of those big personalities returning. That in itself was quite a surprise. It has been quite crazy. There is one kind of Twitter space streamer, I guess, if you want to call them, who is fairly well known, but has had a number of people on their podcast so far, including Elon Musk, CZ from Binance, and numerous other heads of exchanges, such as I think Coinbase made an appearance too. And Kraken's apology certainly did. I'm not sure about Coinbase yet. Interestingly enough, KuCoin and Huobi, again, also another issuer of their own tokens, and Crypto.com haven't yet made an appearance, unless they're on now. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how those respond. I think those are certainly the ones to watch out for. Voyager, again, anything centralized, anything that says they're going to give you returns on your Bitcoin, just or anything else, just get it out. I think put it in a wallet. Yes, you might lose a few days, weeks worth of interest, but at least you know you've definitely got all of it. I'm personally just considering that an insurance premium, I guess, to some extent. Yeah, I think unless there's anything more to say on the FBX side, it probably is worth paying homage, just on a related note, to our dear beloved friend Blackbeard, who has not, of course, been around for a little while, but I'm sure he would have loved all the other stories and associations being proposed in relation to this whole FTX saga and Sam Bankman-Fried in particular. I don't know, Eki, I think you had a few words to say on the, I guess, shall we say, more conspiracy leaning side of things.
Yeah, I mean, it's really easy to like post hoc come up with these conspiracy theories when things happen and just connect dots that weren't really connected to begin with. So I think we should all acknowledge that.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I don't necessarily think that any of it's true, but there's that whole connection between the MakerDAO guy who tweeted out that they have dirt on some pedophile ring and they're to get framed with CP on their laptop by their ex-girlfriend, who is also a spy. It's like people picked that up and ran with it, but it sounds like the more likely explanation is that his ex-girlfriend just found CP on his laptop and he knew she was going to take it to the police or something. And just,
I suppose, just on that point, I'm not one for conspiracies, but I do think it is particularly notable that this was not just some, random guy. This was the founder, as Eki said, of MakerDAO, a big proponent for decentralization and a decentralized stable coin, was working on another conceptual one, Rico, and was apparently close to kind of releasing that. So certainly if somebody wanted to retain control of the existing monetary system, that wouldn't, he wouldn't have been a friend of theirs. He again tweeted this. Now newspapers have picked up and said that, of course it was, conspiracy leaning, and he was starting to go a bit crazy and wild. Looking back through the account's tweets, I can't see any indication of that until this one particular fateful one. He was found dead within hours of tweeting that. And if you do manage to find one of the earlier news reports, then the police did say that there was some sort of mark on his head. So he was then found drowned in the sea. So do make of that what you will. Although they said mark on the head, no signs of a struggle. I guess you might not struggle if you just get whacked around the side of the head all of a sudden, but that's all speculative, of course. So yeah, that was the big event, or an event which raised some eyebrows. And then Eki, I don't know how much more you know about where it's gone to the other kind of directions now.
I haven't dug that far into it. I just have, recognized that people are trying to link the two scenarios, this whole FTX collapsing thing and SBF and the MakerDAO guy. And I mean, like, basically they're both in the Bahamas area, which is a pretty clear, geographical link. So then everything else just kind of follows, and it I don't know. With these conspiracy theories, typically it's just really easy to find these variables in different situations and connect them and infer the logic that connects them without actually having a substantiated evidence behind it. But it's all very interesting, and it, I don't really know too much about it. I've just thought it was funny that it's all popping up. Interesting to see where it goes.
What is just notable just around, as you say, the tweet said that it was they discovered a drug and human trafficking kind of sex ring at the Alameda headquarters. They actually had a physician on site who was there to prescribe prescription drugs. It was quite commonly known, it seems, that the whole kind of team there were just high on amphetamines all day, and then for extended periods of time trading and then working on whatever. And then when they needed to sleep, they would just take sleeping pills to knock themselves out. This was actually by their own admissions through Twitter. It's been compiled as well. So public statements where they've kind of come out and said that, and to an extent validated it all. So it seems to be one just big drug-fueled culture at Alameda, making all these trades and scamming everyone. Some people pointed out the similarities between the Alameda logo and a t-shirt that Sam's worn, between symbols that indicate that kind of CP orientation. So again, it's that's where you start going into the realms of certainly what Blackbeard, I'm sure, would have given us plenty of information about, but where we will probably stop and just focus on what is more evidential, I think.
No.
Yeah,
okay, I do want to go into another conspiracy theory. This one is a very different type. But last week on the stream, we did notice that BNB was going up a lot. I do wonder if that means that maybe it was priced in that FTX is going to collapse. I mean, obviously, FTX and Binance, they are competitors. Do you guys think that maybe it was priced in? Maybe people in big positions of power, maybe the insiders, do you think they knew what was going on?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if, somebody certainly traded on that information. Look, we were talking about this last week and said, and I can't remember if the offer to buy actually came in, and that's a very good point. This whole kind of initial collapse was triggered by CZ offering to, once they, understood that they were in financial difficulty, CZ offering to buy FTX, and then subsequently pulling out, having seen the size of the hole in their balance sheet. That then caused that kind of bank run on them and spiraled the scenario. I forget where we were going with this one.
I was just wondering because BNB did go up quite a lot. Not this week, but like the previous week, and that led up to the entire FTX collapse. And obviously Binance and FTX are competitors, right? So FTX going down would probably mean Binance is doing better, but then obviously entire crypto kind of died, so then it probably hurts Binance as well. So you don't really know.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I think part of this stems from just CZ's reputation. Like, nobody thinks of him as necessarily trustworthy, but they don't necessarily think he's going to pull this on them. And Binance is kind of like one of those entities that if they fail, it seems like a huge portion of crypto is going to fail as well. And
That's
also
another thing.
he's like apparently liking FUD for all the other big exchanges like Gate.io and KuCoin and stuff like that, as if they are also implicated in this as well. So, you know, through all this, you can see how it's kind of raising the esteem for Binance, even if, you know, and it should really just get people to not trust centralized exchanges in general. You know, the retail investor still is not all of them have the greatest sense for danger. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think just on that subject, so it, you know, although Binance don't publish their liabilities through their proof of reserves, I do think that it certainly feels that they're in a position of being too big to fail, just on the basis that they have around $70 billion in there. And, you know, this can be evidenced as well through a variety of things. So even if, you know, that panic triggered and a bank run was attempted, or people genuinely just wanted to withdraw everything, there are always going to be some people who just, even throughout all this FTX saga, just don't believe it and don't attempt to withdraw, even if they hear wind of it. You know, a lot of people, when the news was first coming out, just were in disbelief. You know, FTX wouldn't do that; they're too big to fail. And you know, Alameda is successful and honest and all the rest of it. So it is hard to sway those kind of emotions. But even if enough people attempted it, I think the reserves are just so large that I just can't see a big enough coordinated action happening to drain those reserves to a position where a house of cards could potentially collapse if one was there. Again, until they actually provide proof of liabilities, everything's speculation, but there is enough money there that it feels like if everyone tried to take it out, they'd probably have enough to cover those deposits. That's my personal view. Again, no financial advice. But I probably also agree that if they were to fail as well, that is a huge setback in the industry.
yeah,
Again,
so,
if you're leaning more on the conspiracy side, because there was a close relationship between Sam Bankman-Fried and CD, you know, they're potentially, or the understanding is that there might have been some frustration because Alameda were discovered to be spoofing orders through Binance's API, and they kind of prevented that. And that's where some kind of frustration and bad blood came from. Of course, had FTX been successful in pushing their, you know, deal through the parliament in terms of their policy on regulation, they would have pretty much become a monopoly on that and a legalized one, certainly within the US. So, you know, there is speculation again that the timing of this was to try and stall that and prevent that, and certainly was in reaction to that proposal. And I don't think we actually mentioned, because it's hard to just keep a timeline. I don't know how long ago that last stream was and what had quite happened up to that point.
it was at the very beginning. I think that was it was a day that that CZ started tweeting. It was before Sam had tweeted anything, I believe.
So was this that would have been, I guess, prior to the announced intent to sell FTT tokens?
Before, yes.
Okay, yeah, and that, I think, you know, was the big trigger this. So Binance did just say, look, because of these
No.
allegations-
It was actually no. So they did say that they were going to sell the FTT tokens. It was before FTT actually started dropping, though, I believe.
Okay. So at that point, there was still statements from Alameda where they were saying that, sell it all to us at $22.
Yeah,
You won't have
yeah.
the market impact on the price yet. So subsequently, they couldn't really give everyone the assurances that the funds were available, and that triggered the eventual bank run.
Okay, so
crazy
Eki,
week.
Binzy, and Disco, you guys are all saying that Binance is probably too big to fail. Maiev, what about you?
Yeah, it's the same for me.
Okay.
I think Binance is too big, and
Okay, cool.
I'd feel that if Binance fails, it's like going to be like a stone age for crypto, because it's like CC has been going to different countries, trying to build up regulations, and even here, I don't know what will happen to crypto if Binance fails. So no one would be. It's like you'd have to buy crypto to. You won't be trusting exchanges or any exchanges if Binance fails. So you'd be probably better off buying crypto to another person, and doing that for me is, I don't think it's secure in some sort, right? Because
Well, I don't think that necessarily has to happen. I mean, I think it just has to be insured, right? If it's insured, then it's probably fine.
But in a lot of ways, you're unlikely to find that kind of insurance behind something that's not a centralized exchange for crypto. Like your standard exchange of funds isn't always going to be insured or regulated or anything like that. And a bridge that is on some random website that looks flashy could easily just have malicious code in it that ends up taking your crypto at some point.
What do you guys? I actually have a question. Since you guys are on the US, if you are an FTX user and you've lost funds to them, you get compensated in some sort
No, you don't.
through a legal action or something, just
You
like
no.
what
might.
happened with
Well,
MGOX, right? So there is a chance, right? But if you are from a different country and you're not in the US and you have funds in FTX, then you won't have any chances, right? Because most of the lawsuits that are happening are just in the US, and international users won't be included, right?
I don't
I
know
don't
well
think
enough to say either
yeah.
way.
I feel like it
Yeah.
shouldn't be that way because it's not like Binance is a US company. It's
Well,
It depends on. Yeah,
they
but
are.
Binance
They
is a very
have.
different.
I mean, not
it-
Binance, I'm sorry, FTX. FTX
Yeah.
isn't a US
Yeah, yeah.
company, so I don't see how,
Well,
Americans would have
they have a
priority.
separate arm, FTX.us.
Well, yeah, if you lose money on FTX UX, then you'll probably be fine, right? But
Yeah.
for the international
So
one, I don't know.
So what will happen there is, any funds that they have left, and again that's debatable whether they have any left. They initially during this saga said FTX US is unaffected by everything because it's a separate company. Of course, that was just a lie. They're all one and the same. All these FTX companies and Alameda companies. So what will happen is any assets that are available will eventually get liquidated, and then you'll get back whatever is available, shared fairly, equally amongst all kind of creditors, because that's what you are essentially to them. You are a creditor. You're lending them your money to then get it back. So yeah, and those legal processes. I mean, Mt. Gox's still 8 years going, and no one's been paid out from that. So, and they, recovered a lot of the funds here. It doesn't seem like there is much to recover, and what was recoverable is very quickly being moved on chain and seemingly laundered as well. So, yeah, it will again. We'll just have to wait and see what happens with all of this. It's a very fluid kind of situation.
So all of you guys are all saying Binance is too big to fail. Jumping back to that. Honestly, when Discomonk first brought up FTX failing, I thought he was right. I actually I didn't think FTX was too big to fail. I don't think Binance is too big to fail. And I think part of that is because crypto is so new, and part of that is because I think crypto isn't as big as, you know, some people in the crypto space might think. So I think Binance potentially could. It doesn't mean that they will, obviously, and hopefully that they don't. That'll be very awkward since we are on BSC. That would be very awkward indeed. But you know, like, Binance isn't. It's big, but it's not like Chase, right? Like Chase falling. I don't think Chase could fail. I think Chase is too big, but like
They're like
there's
the
a big difference
equivalent,
between Chase
yeah.
and Binance.
But if
They are the
for,
equivalent. And go on, Nicky.
I was going to say, for enough liquidity to make Binance fail to be there, so many people would have to have bought into crypto that Binance just gets bigger. So then, you know, they have the front runner advantage in a lot of ways. They're just already big. So as crypto grows, so does Binance by virtue of them just holding all of this crypto and capital. So for them to fail, they would have to make a series of bad decisions, similar to what FTX did,
Yeah.
as well as like just lose their reserves to the point where someone bigger buying into crypto and finding some way of manipulating their reserves is able to do so. It basically requires a bigger player to enter the game, and there aren't many of those. So, yeah, I don't know. But I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, to be honest. Don't listen to me.
Yeah,
That's
and
just my sense.
there's a lot of projects that Binance have actually bought, right? So it's kind of scary. If they fail, it's like people would lose trust to crypto.
They will, but I think I agree with what Binzy said, which is that in a few years, people probably will forget about it, or maybe not forget about it, but they won't worry so much about it. I think.
Well, what if Binance actually planned it all
Binance planned it
for
all.
them to be like the top one?
I mean,
'Cause,
they were top
They-
anyway. They're now the biggest exchange by some distance.
Who's the second biggest? Is
I
it
think-
Coinbase?
I think so. Yes. I don't know about globally, but certainly Binance is definitely the largest globally. And I think a key difference from what I've noticed is, you know, they don't have all those sponsorship and naming rights and all those things. The marketing budgets, Alina, they haven't actually got an official headquarters. So there's no spending in property. I'm not aware of any reported political donations to that same capacity. So there's certainly not a more apparent act of, you know, money being funneled away or going into other revenues. You know, those naming rights, FTX Arena now, of course, no more. They've written the sign off that. There were some esports teams I've seen with patches over the FTX logo.
The LCS was sponsored by FTX. Like the official league of League was sponsored by FTX, which is yeah.
So again, and that's, you know, going to have quite a wide impact on all these different things, no longer having that funding bit behind them. So it'd be interesting to see what happens to those, and hopefully they pull through. It's just been crazy. I think it's worth touching on that point though, that you said around, you know, Binance and what if the big what if in that what if they did fail. Certainly in terms of crypto markets and price points, everything would be quite wild. BUSD, as far as we know and understand, is one-to-one backed by Paxos. It's not actually issued by Binance. There is, again, a corporate separation. I haven't delved into that too much, but they are with a New York office, and therefore, as a regulated entity, there should be hopefully some more confidence. We would suspect that they do have a one-to-one backing for that. In terms of BNB pricing and things, well, of course, in a sadistic way, if BNB price went down, that's great. It's cheaper gas fees for us when we're harvesting or playing or collecting, claiming our rewards and whatever we're doing. But jokes aside, the volatility of BNB potentially has an impact on the market prices of our ecosystem. It's one of the reasons why we moved away from having BNB pairings as we did for some of the earlier released runes. And you can still see the impact of those today. Now that we've switched everything to BUSD pairing, so stablecoin pairing, so that price action should be more genuine as to what the interest is in rune products, rather than how well people think BNB is going to do and how much they're using that. So as long as that one-to-one backing remains there, then we're okay from that aspect. In terms of liquidity pools and people's investments currently still with the rune ecosystem. In terms of then what that means for our health and our long term, well, the good news is we're still here. We've been here throughout this entire time, bull, bear, whatever it may be. And the team is mostly volunteers, so we'll still continue to be here and working through this and trying to deliver that metaverse rune vision for you. We don't have any team funds on FBX. In fact, there's probably no team funds at the moment anywhere. But if you do want to check the exact amount of team funds, you can always find those in the vault in all of those published wallet addresses. Again, proof of reserves. We have been doing that since day one here at Rune. They've always been on the websites. We've in the white paper, they were in there. You can see the vault, the dev wallet, and the charity wallet as well.
Wait, I do. So okay, I want to jump in here. So, all the funds in the vault, right? But the vault is on BSC. If Binance dies, does BSC die? What happens to the vault?
So, technically, Binance Smart Chain is independently run, and Binance have no involvement in it. Now, there are, I think, 21 validators who are rumored to be heavily involved with Binance, if not Binance themselves. But I don't think the node operators are publicly known, so that becomes harder to verify. But so yes, there is a risk that the chain is potentially lost. Certainly, if Binance were to go down, you would have less places to cash out from. As long as the actual chain was up, though, what you can do is then bridge those tokens out to other chains, so get your BSD and whatever else. What we do also have the ability to do is we are an EVM. Our code will run on other blockchains as well, so we can just take a snapshot of all of our user items, holdings, whatever it is, and redeploy on a different chain if that comes to it. So losing the liquidity in the process, but certainly people's holdings and what they had in the Rune ecosystem, we would be able to recapture that and give that back to them, just launch it on a different chain. So in terms of, we have a backup plan if Binance Smart Chain really did collapse like that, for lack of a better word. But I can't see that happening. That's beyond me at the moment. Let's ask me again next week.
Gotcha.
With the way this week's gone, it could well be the case. But
I hope not.
Okay, well, since we're back on the Rune topic and we are running pretty late, Disco, go ahead and talk to us a little bit about the Flame partnership that we have, and then after that we'll jump into our Pandemonium games, and we can keep on talking about crypto and everything during that as well.
Indeed, yes. So, as you may recall, we did some weeks ago announce a partnership with Flame. We had some of the Flame team members on stream with us, which was great, on a special midweek stream. And as a result of that, and the great work that they've been doing, and the fact that you guys keep playing Evolution, they have asked us to be one of the partnership launch games for their beta for Flame, and for the public release, hopefully too. So what they have kindly done, or will be doing, is they are going to give us some download links for the beta version of the Flame platform. And we want to give some of those away to you guys as well. So we're unsure of the exact number that we'll have to hand. But what we will do middle of the week, I'm trying to think on dates, we're probably looking at Tuesday, Wednesday-ish, depending on time zones where you are. We will be putting that download link into the Telegram announcements channel. And word of warning on that, this is first come, first serve. So our understanding, and we'll hopefully get this confirmed by the time, but the understanding is this is a single download link that will enable a certain amount of downloads, and once that goes, that's gone. It's only a small amount. We're looking, double digits, low double digits. So do come and keep an eye on that if that interests you. As there might be some other games that you might wish to play on there as well. Now, of course, as with any third-party project, we can't vouch for any of the code. We haven't done full audits, anything like that. So, as always, you use everything at your own risk. But it'd be really interesting to see what that looks like, because I know that the idea is that you can actually create a wallet through Flame. Through social logins, I recall them saying. So that'd be really exciting, and hopefully simplify that user onboarding process to bring people to play Evolution. So maybe that's the path that you want to take. Maybe you can send your character, and you just need to therefore only have enough BNB to get your username if you do want to play that way. Or feel free to create a character through there too. So be really interesting to see that launch take place, and keep an eye out if you want to take part.
Great, thank you, Disco. Okay, now let's move on to our Pandemonium games. Everybody, let's get on Evolution. North America, play probably just a few Evolution games. I mean, Pandemonium games, probably not as much as usual, just because we have quite a long stream today. A lot of topics to cover. A lot of knowledge shared by Discomonk as well. So, North America, let's get on it. And while we're playing, we can talk about our favorite social media platform, Twitter.
Before that, I'll just do my bio break.
What?
Just need to go to the restroom.
All right, Maiev, are you going to mute your mic, or are you bringing it in there?
Of course I am. You don't want to hear it, right?
All right,
so,
game gonna
yeah,
capture. There we go. Okay, so I guess let's jump into Twitter. So Twitter this week, they implemented the $8 check marks, which is really interesting because this is what I wanted to cover. Okay, apparently, maybe it's because I didn't update my app, but I didn't see the quote-unquote fake check marks. I only saw it on people that had the check marks previously.
No, yeah, it's 100% because he didn't do that. Yeah.
So is it because I didn't update my app? See, another reason
Yeah.
to not update your app, guys. Come on, literally, I had no problem. I had zero problems.
Actually, we did say don't update the FTX app, so maybe you're onto something as well.
My let's see, the Twitter client I use on Android is long dead, I'm pretty sure, because they ran out of tokens for new users because of Twitter's dumbass way of handling that whole situation. And yeah, I didn't see the blue check marks either. I just saw the memes coming out of it, which were entirely predictable.
I was kind of confused for a second. I was like, wait a minute, I don't see the check marks. But
it was just amazing seeing people talk about that happening if Elon did that, and him being like, no, we're doing it, and then it happening, obviously.
He must have known it was going to happen, right? I think he just didn't care.
I think his arrogance refused to let him believe it, because it was made very clear, and he was adamant that no, this was going to work. And as Eki said, clearly didn't. They have now backtracked on that, so they're not processing any applications at the moment for the blue check mark. They put that on hold, and they've announced they're going to revisit the criteria and process for that. lots of then disgruntled people who had paid the $8 for it. Be again interested to see what he does there. But made himself look like a bit of a fool. Did have a wider impact on the stock market, seemingly. It would appear that after Lockheed Martin were impersonated by a username called Lockheed Martini, genius, stating that they would no longer supply weapons to Saudi Arabia and Iran and some of the other countries.
And the US
Yeah, the
actually
US.
was part of the tweet too.
Yeah, their stock price tumbled a bit, few millions of dollars lost in market cap there. Same for an insulin maker in America, who then announced that they were going to be giving out insulin for free. Their share price, they lost tens of millions of dollars in market cap.
Isn't it
very
hilarious
interesting.
how
I just want to
when
say,
companies announce that they're going to do nice things, their stock price drops dramatically.
is it?
Like, oh, free insulin? Like, $5 billion, all the greedy fuckers get out of there. Like, if you weren't, like, people literally pay like 70% of their income for this because they need it to stay alive. And it's something that costs so little to make, and they sell it for such a dramatic markup that only sociopaths could run that fucking company or even invest in that company. So it just says a lot about the current state of things, that when they announce that, the stock price drops, and that's the story.
That's
like,
capitalism, I guess.
It's not that they're that they're exploiting this, but that they lost stock
That's
price.
the mindset. Yeah. And what was even more comical to see is that in response to that, there was then a second parody account that responded as a follow-up to the original tweet and said, oh, jokes, don't worry, we wouldn't really do that. We can charge what we want, and you're going to have to pay it.
Oh my god.
And a few companies, therefore, have been impersonated and been parodied hilariously. Elon Musk himself has been parodied repeatedly and has stated that there will be rules for parody accounts, where originally he said it needed to be stated in his bio, because that clearly wasn't effective because no one's actually going to click through on that. He then had to backtrack and say that you needed to state it within your actual username that you were a parody account. Interestingly enough, somebody did then question if Craig Wright would be banned from Twitter for not declaring that he himself had the parody account, claiming to be the inventor of Bitcoin.
Okay, so I'm curious as to what you guys think, because I almost feel like if you're fooled by a Twitter account, I almost feel like that's on you, dude. Like I don't know if you're fooled by Lockheed Martini. I feel like that's on you. I feel like that's not. Can you blame Twitter for that? I don't know. It's just a check mark. You're putting too much faith in a check mark.
No, I mean I think you're right, but the thing is, a lot of people are not that smart. So people don't read past the headline half the time.
You're right. That's Reddit.
They don't take in any of the information. It's just the very surface level thing. The most salient information on the page is the only thing that enters their minds, and that's the bold white username and the blue check mark, not the @ underneath it that actually tells you who the person is.
Yeah, I think it's important.
There were
to remember that those traders are trying to, being a successful trader relies on having the information the fastest and being able to react to that before everyone else finds out and reacts. So if that was, what they genuinely thought to be a public announcement to state that actually they're going to start giving that away for free, or are going to stop trading with some of their biggest trade partners in the case of Lockheed Martin, then, a trader potentially is going to react, and they're going to also be picking up on the Twitter trends and the fact that these things get shared and liked subsequently very quickly, would also no doubt show up on some algorithm trading things as well. So because they do use social media data to algorithm.
I wish FTX blew up a little bit later, so then people could just be like, oh well, they fell for the blue check mark, that's why they all lost all their money. they they got screwed by Lockheed Martini. All right, so we do have the first winner of Pandemonium. Who is it going to be? I think it's Chaos Myth.
Smith.
Chaos Myth. Okay, first winner.
Wait, I need to hop in.
Oh yeah, Maya, you weren't in here? No wonder that round took so long. You weren't here?
Yeah, I wasn't.
Oh, okay.
You guys already started.
Is it too much? Is it okay? Like, I think I mentioned it on the last stream. Is it like that much to ask just for like a different color check mark? Would that be enough? That seems so simple to me, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Elon was just trying to capitalize on the people who hated the blue check mark to begin with and thought it was some elitist thing and used it as a pejorative, which by and large doesn't really comprise the entirety of Twitter. Yeah, some people, I mean, obviously you dislike that some people have a greater platform than others, but it's largely like follower based as well. That's the blue checkmark isn't the only thing that makes someone's post go to the top. It's also just the general engagement with their content. So
How about this one? Jesus on Twitter has a blue check mark.
well, obviously he's risen.
Can't prove that he's not.
I liked the Elon parody that was like, oh, I'm starting Twitter Gold now. If you buy it, you get yearly vacations and nightly dinners at home with me. If your name is Grimes, please come back. I miss you so much. Or something like that. But really, though, Elon's current divorce dad arc has got to be like one of the biggest and most elaborate divorce dad arcs of all time.
I actually saw something on the news. It says that Crypto.com holds like 20% of Shiba Inu.
Yeah. I saw that as well.
So that's the other concern people have, is that the amount of their reserves are mainly in shitcoins.
I mean, that's not on them though,
It's
right?
not a shitcoin. It's a meme coin. Sorry. So Shiba and I think there's a lot of Doge and stuff on there as well.
But that's a good
in
thing.
addition to their own CRO. Well, it's good if you go by their suggestion that, as they state, these.
This little guy won't die. We can't get this guy.
I already got stuck.
Maiev was just watching us chase this guy. Dude, who is this guy? What the? Look at him go.
Chaos Smith.
It's Chaos Smith.
Oh my god.
Come on, die, Chaos Smith. You've already won.
Wait
Your
a
chance
minute.
to others.
Wait a minute.
He's so fast, we can't get him. Here we go
You guys
again.
are too slow.
Teamwork,
No wonder.
guys.
It's slippery.
All right,
Oh my
come
god.
on.
Corner him.
Okay, there
Oh
we
my
go.
God.
Jeez, that was such a pain.
Oh my god, we had to work so hard. 3 people. 3v1. Okay, anyways, back on topic.
So
Oh, no,
yes,
there's still 2 people left.
Yeah, we still have Sassy Boy and who's the other one?
Mr. Buggins, I think.
Mr. Buggins.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, too late. I guess Chaos Myth died for nothing. So
We can declare them as winners.
Yeah, that's fine.
sure, both of them.
Buggins and Sassy Boy.
Okay, sure, sounds good. So I guess this will be our last round of Pandemonium, just because the stream is running pretty long. And after this, we do have to craft and spin the wheel.
Yeah, what do you guys want us to craft? Chat. Hi Loma.
I think I saw a good suggestion. I don't remember who it was by on the entire Twitter thing. I think you should be able to gift other people check marks.
Oh, I killed someone.
It'll be kind of like Twitch subs. And I think they would make a lot of money from that. A lot of people gift a lot of
Isn't
subs.
it?
I don't know why, but they do it.
But it's Twitter is such like it's not something you stick around and watch someone's feed for like an hour and a half and engage with them
That's
to
what you
that
think.
level.
That's what you think. You don't know what I've been doing on Twitter this week.
I mean, like I've been like for the U.S. midterms and stuff, I was definitely refreshing feeds and stuff, but it wasn't like something I was constantly attending to. I would come back to it every 15 minutes and
Yep.
be like, okay, yeah.
Panda
Yeah.
always do things differently.
Yeah, it's Twitter just needs to like make a way for content creators to make content and put it on Twitter for other people to engage with. Because right now it's mostly just a referral website and where people put things that they haven't thought through completely.
Yeah.
It's for hot takes and like news.
MKBHD made a video about that.
Yeah, he did.
You
But
know what?
and in
What
a
I
lot of
think.
ways I agree with him. It's just like there's no real reason to want Twitter Blue other than to, I don't know, like think of yourself as a subscriber. Like, ooh, I gave Elon Musk $8 this month. Like that's the utility. Like you can feel good about that, I guess. And
Wait.
he's still harvesting your data. So
Why don't they make like an option to like add more text to tweets, since most of their tweets.
No, there will
most
be
of
an
the
option
tweets
for
are
that. I believe Elon did talk about that.
Talking
I do
about
want to
that
jump
as
back
one of
onto
the
crypto for
premiums.
1 second, just because it did remind me of something. Apparently Robinhood tweeted, or I think Robinhood CEO tweeted that
Bongins one.
more people,
Mr. Buggins one.
like more people started to, there was more people investing in crypto in the past like couple of days than they ever had, which is pretty interesting considering the, entire crypto market the past week. You would think that people will be avoiding crypto, but no, more people has been coming in. So yeah, okay, that's gonna be the last round of Evo. I just wanted to bring that up because I thought that was a little bit strange. It's a little bit counterintuitive.
I mean, you can never predict how people are going to act, honestly. Like on a large scale, it's insane. Like during the crypto bull market, it was like bad news ended up making a coin moon, and then substantial news of them putting out something did nothing. So
just before we do move on, that's a really interesting point to touch on, because, and I can't remember if it's Sam's or Caroline's father, but one of them actually did data modeling on large population, and yeah, so that's something they were very well versed in terms of that kind of collective herd, or I don't know what the figure of speech is, I guess, but the hive mind, in that if you get a large enough sample, you can always, although each individual component is chaotic, you can always predict the overall outcome of the bigger picture, because throughout all this chaoticness, there is a defined pattern of distribution. And so they do kind of pandemic data modeling and information like that. And I don't think it's far stretched that they would have actually looked at data modeling and human modeling, this Alameda research for crypto markets, and coming into that. And I think one point we didn't touch on or didn't clarify when we said earlier as to how did they actually lose all that money. One theory at the moment is that FTX actually had some unique trading software in that they would backstop, fill all liquidation orders. Normally, when you're liquidating, you need to be able to find a buyer for all those things. What they would actually do is just take it on the liquidations as they're, in the hope of them being able to subsequently sell them. But of course, with the volatility and the speed that everything moved through with UST crash, it's suspected that it just kind of collapsed and wasn't able to find any buyers for those orders, and that's where a lot of losses were incurred, because from that kind of point onwards there seemed to be a lot of fundraising activity, scrambling around moving money to call margin and not paying people off, and other firms then subsequently collapsing as well. So yeah, I'm sure there'll be a great Netflix docuseries about all of this one day. For now, you just get me yapping on about it.
That's something that I did bring up earlier, and I don't think we actually got. I don't think I got answers from everybody. So I do want. Let's just go ahead and go around the table and see what you guys think, just for fun. Obviously, it doesn't have to be super serious, but I do wonder what you guys. Where do you guys think the money went? Eki, let's start with you. Just a guess off the top of your head. It doesn't have to be too serious.
Not all to one place, probably. Like, they probably used it to enrich themselves. They invested in things, high risk stuff, most likely, and made donations to political causes. And I mean, personal purchases, etc. You do what you do when you're coming to that money come into money like that.
Okay.
Obviously, yeah.
Okay, cool. So for you, you think they use it on a variety of things, some for themselves, some on probably not the best investments. Disco, or do you want to stick with theory?
They've made a lot of investments. I mean, it was only, I think on Friday, that Sam Bankman-Fried was actually looking to offload nearly $500 million worth of shares at Robinhood that he was invested in. So, yeah, there definitely lots of money has been funneled into legal establishments and tangible public assets. How easily those are recoupable and under what legal framework they've been bought under, again, I don't know. I'm not too familiar with all the proceedings, and again, as it stands right now, I'm not confident that actually any charges have been pressed against him in terms of police activity. As far as I know, it is just an investigation into whether any criminality took place. There were rumors that the SEC had actually kept an eye, or some investigative bodies had been keeping an eye on suspicious on Alameda for months.
If you had to guess, Disco, what would you say?
I think, I don't know, maybe 60-70% of the money just never existed in the first place.
Never existed.
Was just shuffled around to give the illusion of it existing, or a large chunk of it anyway.
Well, it had to exist, right? Because people were depositing more.
Well, no, because so this is the thing, is that people would deposit like $100, and then they would take that $100 and they would, bearing in mind, when you're on a centralized exchange, when you're doing trades back and forth, you're not sending money to different wallets. This is all happening on their centralized database. It just records, the transactions and the balances going through. The money never actually moves. So, it's quite easy to potentially manipulate on that front and say, actually, yeah, he didn't just trade 100, it was actually $110, and you just inflate the system that way, because it's not until the point that actually someone tries to take that money out that you then have to have $100 available. So it would, they would do that rather than saying 100. It'd say actually it was a $200 dollar deposit, and therefore maybe I'll just borrow against the value of that from other money. So they'd get external funds, and go out to investors and say, look, we've got $200 here, can you lend us 20? We've clearly got enough to pay that off. So then they get their money and increase it, and so forth.
Okay, so Disco's going with the money never existed. Maiev, what about you?
And lots of it has been funneled out.
Pretty sure that they bank it, and then at some point they would actually put it back to the market using a different entity.
But where do you think the money went? Do you think it never existed? Do you think they lost it? Do you think they stole it? Do you think they
stole it? I'm pretty sure about that.
So you're saying that they still have the money, they just have it themselves?
Yeah, maybe not the whole. Maybe they have like half of it, and then they would be putting it back at some point in the market using a different entity. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure they have it.
Okay, so you think they still have the money? I honestly have no idea. I'm just going to go with the theory that maybe there was some infinite money glitch that somebody was exploiting, and then they just never noticed because they're too busy doing whatever the fuck they were doing. I guess we can revisit this.
Magic money glitch in.
There was
like
the
back door.
Yeah.
There was like an issue with Alameda and Reef Finance way back. We're in yeah, Sam Bankman-Fried was like, or Alameda was a major investor of refinance, and then it's like they had like an argument, and then it's like they footed themselves. So they are invested in refinance, and then Sam Bankman-Fried tweeted that they are not holders of Reef, and that they won't be doing any business with Reef. Yeah, you guys would be able to see it in Reddit or backtrack.
God, I remember that. I forgot that was SBF as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's something like that. So, and
Okay.
Yeah. A
pretty
lot
sure
of
it's
investors who.
not the first time that it happened. I think there was like 2 or 3 tokens more that had that kind of issue with SBF. So
Yeah.
it's
A lot
clearly
of
that they are market manipulators.
comments came out that there were token allocations snuck into legal terms without the projects knowing. Quite often spotted last minute and being questioned. Certainly, there were investor notes published when they went on their fundraising rounds that people have now released subsequently, where they've just said, look, it just looks like a complete scam. It's just like BitConnect. They were actually going out at Binance conventions and offering 15% APR on high frequency trading loans with only 5 million capital in the first place. And people questioned it, called it a scam. Interestingly enough, one of those was from 3AC who subsequently called Su, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
ZHU,
Indeed.
right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see. Maybe in a few months we'll see if any of our theories are right. Probably not, but it'll be funny if any of them were. I guess the good news is Bitcoin, Ethereum, they dipped quite a lot, but they recovered at least partially. So
I'd still be very cautious to trade. I don't think the contagion in the market impact from everything has fully settled. Bearing in mind, there are still hundreds of millions of dollars being hacked, money being moved around on chain, off chain. In addition to very large on-chain movements to other central exchanges, I think $600 million worth of S was deposited at Coinbase about 10 minutes before we came on. So I don't know what the market impact of that is quite yet, but we'll have to wait and see.
I'm going to go ahead and close the giveaway. We do have 9 entries. We'll be picking 6 winners. 1,375 tickets entered. To our lucky winners are going to be only 9 people, so you guys all have a good chance to win. Mr. Buggins gets another entry onto the wheel. I believe that is Poseidon. Chaos Myth gets another entry. Eki is in. Maiev is in. And our last lucky winner is Camel. Okay.
Wow. So
hey, what happened to the wheel? What did they do to my wheel? Guys, they changed the wheel.
I was actually scared that I wasn't going to be picked. I entered like 425 tickets.
Yeah, you went all in. You really want that Hell River.
Yeah, I went all in.
Buggins. It was Chaos Myth, Sassy Boy, Buggins, and Buggins for
Justin Sun,
right?
saying that he'd be.
Oh yeah, we missed that entire thing.
Oh,
yeah, that was a huge thing as well. I actually thought it was very interesting. I thought it was kind of clever. Maybe illegal, maybe not. I don't really know. Like, what if that actually worked?
Yeah, so that's a good point. So during all this debacle where users were struggling to withdraw funds, Justin Sun stepped in and offered to enable people to swap their FTX holdings for Tron tokens and withdraw onto the Tron network. What this then resulted in was a limited set agreement, set frequency, amount of deposits by the Tron network into FTX for users to trade on, so that they could then buy those tokens and withdraw to that network. Now, because FTX was not being traded externally or unconnected to external exchanges, the market making there meant that actually all these Tron tokens were selling at huge premium on FTX, something up to, on average, about 6 times more. So anyone who wanted to try and exit through that method was then having to buy these hugely inflated token prices and trying to withdraw those. Interestingly, I find that quite suspicious. Again, we know that Tron have got their TUSD stable coin propped up through the value of TRX and the Tron network. Now it just looks like Luna to me.
Yeah. Do you guys think Tron is a reliable chain?
I don't know about the chain itself. I mean, it does process a lot of transactions.
A project.
Yeah. What concerns me is the funds, and again, it's a single evangelist leader who seems to be connected with all the other individuals as well. Very similar demeanor, and of course, the whole point of crypto is to move away from trusting individuals like all these people, because you shouldn't need to do that. That's why Bitcoin exists. That's why smart contracts exist. So you don't have to interact with these people. You don't have to trust what they say, what snake oil they're trying to sell you. Yeah, I don't know about Tron. I just never felt right about it. I've always stayed away from it. I never gave it enough time to really look into it too much. Could be wrong.
Cheapest way to move around USDT for a while there, at least.
Indeed.
Easily, but not a place that I've ever thought to like deposit a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't use Tether as a rule, unless some pairs are only available in Tether. But again, I stay away from that just due to their inability to prove their reserves. And of course, there are whole other theories about the collusion between potentially Tether issuers and Alameda. Alameda being the largest recipient of Tether, about 30% of all emissions throughout the Wall Street market, if not more. Incidentally, just at the right times, and
rest in peace, Maiev.
As well.
He made it to the top 3.
Oh no!
All right, Buggins versus Camel. Buggins does have a lot of entries, so let's see if he wins.
Buggins won the best craft last week.
Buggins is on fire, I guess. Buggins does look like he's gonna beat Camel. You guys know, dude. Thursday, was it Thursday? Either it was Thursday or Friday. It was it was so strange when I open up my phone. I look at I have this thing, a widget that shows the prices of indexes and the prices of crypto. It was literally S&P 500, Nasdaq, everything is having the best day of their lives, up 7.5%, and then you look at fucking Bitcoin and Ethereum, and they're both down 20%. I've never seen it differentiate that much before. That was crazy.
Yeah, I think this was just one of those black swan events, I guess. It's just a shame we've had a few of them already this year.
You guys think it's interesting that the traditional stock markets, they don't really care about what's happening in crypto?
Or probably people have bought back and placed their money again back to the traditional markets because of the crypto scare.
You know what?
There was some contagion into traditional markets. I mean, some pension funds were invested in FTX. Ukraine, the funding that it received from the American government, I know some of that was stored on FTX as well. Of course, FTX enticed Ukrainians to join the platform by giving them $25 of free money. Maybe it turns out it was completely free and never existed, but so there's just a lot going on at the moment to try and digest. I just hope everyone survives until next week.
Oh, Maiev, it does look like we do need more BNB, I believe. You see how much we have. I could have sworn We got more B&B sent like just a couple weeks ago, but yeah, it does look like we do need some more B&B.
All right.
And I think that was a good point. Maybe people are taking money out of crypto and putting it into stock market. I didn't think about it like that. Usually it's not how it goes. Usually, you know, you see the stock markets and the crypto markets like relatively in line with each other, but yeah, on Thursday it was a very different
Or
story.
maybe they are withdrawing crypto because we all know that everything has gone up through all parts of the world, right? Prices have
Yeah.
been inflated. Rent,
Well,
food.
CPI seems to think that maybe inflation is slowing down. That's a big maybe.
At least for America.
Yeah.
For America,
Oh.
in here, I could not actually feel it.
Oh.
It's like everything is.
Oh my god.
It's
You know when I try to order food now, it's like $40. It's actually crazy.
Has it not always, for me at least, ordering for two people,
Has it all-
it's like 40 to
It was always
$50.
$40 for you, right?
Well, just for one person, for me it was like $40. For two people it'll be so much more, you know. But just for like usually before it was like maybe like 20ish. I could order food for like 2 meals for about 20, maybe $25. But now it's like for 2 meals it would be like $40, which is yeah. I don't want to order food anymore.
Whenever I try to order food, it's
What?
like,
You always tell me how cheap your food is.
Yeah, it's
Every
cheap,
time
but
you
it's
tell me how
still-
cheap your food is, and you always make your food sound like it's like the best thing in the world.
Well, it's cheap, but now it somehow doubled the prices. You know, Jollibee. Whenever I eat at Jollibee, I only spend like $4 in Philippine currency, but now it's like I spent like almost $8, and that's just a meal for a person.
Yeah.
And I do eat a lot though.
Do you?
I usually eat 2 meals.
You
But
eat,
yeah,
you eat 2 meals every day, or you eat 2 meals for each meal?
for each meal,
What?
but whenever I order food, that is. But it's like I only eat.
Oh, it's probably because you don't
like
have
twice a
American
day.
portions, right? You probably
Yeah,
your
yeah.
portions are probably a lot smaller.
Right. Plus, I don't eat at the right time,
What's the right time?
like breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Oh yeah, I don't.
Whatever time that is.
I don't eat breakfast. Do you guys eat breakfast?
I have a
Yeah,
bacon
all the
and
time.
egg and cheese sandwich like pretty much every day.
Yeah, I have a. Well, lately I've just been having overnight oats every day.
Wow.
Nice cheat meal.
I wish I could eat like Eki. I really can't stand the taste of oats. I don't know.
I mean, I mix like this. It's called PB Fit. It's like this peanut butter powder, and chia, and then like this plant-based milk. And by itself, then it tastes pretty sweet and like a mild sweet. And then I put a banana into it, and it's pretty hearty breakfast.
What a shame. Almost 90%, just 1% short. Probably just one roll short. But hey, it's still not bad. Looks like it got pretty good rolls. 88% to 88%, 84 and a 74. So yeah, congratulations to the winners. Maiev, it looks like you still did walk away with a pretty good Hell Reaver. Hope you are happy. Ooh, look at your rolls. You got maxed harvest yield. What do you know?
What is it?
I do
What
want.
is it? Max harvest yield, and I got that one.
Yeah, max harvest yield. 12% burn. So pretty good for raids if you need one.
Yeah.
I do want some
Nice.
noodles now as well. Oh, speaking of food, have you guys ever had a McRib?
No, I've never
Yeah.
even wanted.
I did. I did. It was a one-time
You guys have
Thing
McRibs over
here.
there? Wow.
in the PH. It was a limited edition, and
Yeah.
pretty sure I did.
Limited edition over here as well.
Did you guys like it? I feel like I
Red,
have very
lemon,
conflicting
yeah.
opinions. Like some people love it, some people fucking hate. Like Eki hates it, right? But I love it. I feel like
It looks sickening, honestly.
I think it's just
Yeah,
I don't know.
did not. I did not like it.
You didn't like it. What about you, Disco?
Yeah, it was alright from memory. I've only tried it the once, and it's been
Okay.
years now
Yeah.
since I had that.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people think it's like completely disgusting, honestly. Which is, I don't know. Like I think I can understand why they think that, because if I think about it, it is a little bit disgusting.
I
But
love monk
it
spicy
tastes
though.
good. It's because the sauce. I don't know. But yeah,
But
the McRib just
it's
came back. I've been
yeah.
addicted to it. I've been eating too many McRibs. I might even get one after the stream. You can't
Have a
think
nice
about it, Binzy. You
home-cooked
can't think
meal.
about it. Don't think about it. You just gotta eat it and enjoy it.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. Sometimes you really just don't want to think about it.
I actually like Popeye's spicy sandwich rather instead of McDonald's. I don't know.
Popeyes is good. Okay, I think that's enough talking about food. We had a long stream, a lot of good topics, a lot of good information as well. Everybody watching, hope you guys did enjoy this stream, and congratulations to all of the Hell River winners. I think that's all we have for you guys today. Keep in mind, Evolution Season 4 does start in a couple of days. The Flame partnership, the download link should be in just 2 or 3 days as well. So yeah, have a good week, everybody. Good night.
Thanks all.
Good night, all. Have a great night. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye bye.